In episode 1, a group of cartographers from a place called Ravka are traveling because they've been conscripted in some kind of army. Among them is a girl named Alina, and we learn that something called the Fold killed her parents and orphaned her and a lot of others in Ravka. The people don't really have anywhere to go, we're told, because the north wants the Grisha dead, and the south guards its mountains. The Grisha are a class of people among those in Ravka who have special powers and can perform magic. Now, Alina at this point isn't Grisha herself. We know little about what she is, and this is part of the mystery that will unfold. Alina and Mal are two childhood best friends. He seems really gentle as a child. She stands up to his bullies. Now though, all grown up, he's fighting for sport and he seems pretty good at it. He is still shown to be a good guy though. Alina and Mal have this reunion in the camp area, so they've both been conscripted to go through the Fold as an army escorting the Grisha. Mal has another skill set, however. He's a tracker, and so this means that they're about to be separated because they'll have to go with different groups. In the second storyline, someone named Inej tells Kaz about a job that would pay 1 million Kruger. He seems to be the resident, possibly criminal type who owns a bar. So about the job, a wealthy merchant is looking for a crew to go into the Fold to get something in East Ravka. This could be just the job for Kaz and his group. We find out then that just about everybody is trying to find their way across or through the Fold and back, but nobody really can yet. Back at the army camp, the General Kerrigan arrives for a visit. Alina burns some maps and records, purposely sabotaging them, and then she volunteers to go into the Fold to redraw the maps. The General orders her whole crew to go, and she ends up on the same skiff, these ship-like things, as Mel, which is what she wanted. But he doesn't want her to go with because it's really dangerous. Anyway, they end up going and they're passing through the Fold and everything is in complete darkness. They're told not to leave their stations or put on any light, but someone does, and this draws the attention of the monsters in the Fold, which start attacking them. A fire breaks out then on the skiff, and Mel almost gets taken by one of the monsters, but Alina shoots at it, saving him. Then she gets grabbed, and something happens to her. I don't know what, but this event seems to have triggered some kind of power in her. One of the people on the skiff, Alexei, makes it through the Fold somehow, separately from the others. More on him in a bit. Apparently the rest of the crew also managed to survive because of something that obliterated the monsters and lit the way through the forest. Of course, Alexei is questioned about what actually happened on the skiff in the Fold. He says that it was the Sun Summoner who lit the way and destroyed the monsters. He tells them that the Sun Summoner is Alina Starkov. The merchant, who's busy interrogating him, promptly kills Alexei and tells the rest of the group to bring him Alina and prove that they have a way through the Fold and back. In episode 2, we find out that there are these tests that all kids like Mel and Alina, or when they were kids, have to undergo to find out if they are Grisha or not. Alina is nervous that this might separate her from Mel. Not that she suspects that she's Grisha, but she doesn't want to take any chances. In the present day, Alina is brought to General Kerrigan's tent after what had happened on the skiff with the light. He asks what she is, and she says that she's a map maker. He asks if it's true that she can summon light, and he cuts into her flesh and light comes bursting out of her. Then she's taken to the little palace for her protection because their enemies are going to know of her powers and she isn't safe. By the way, these powers mean that Alina is Grisha, a particularly powerful one because the other Grisha are tailors or healers, but she's the Sun Summoner. We don't really know the extent of her power yet though. While they're on the way to the palace, their carriage is ambushed, and just as someone is about to kill Alina, General Kerrigan saves her using his powers and they ride off together on horseback. He tells her later that with proper training, she could destroy the Fold. She wants no part of this, and he wonders how she wasn't discovered before, as all children are tested, and she admits that she wasn't tested as a child. She says that she and Mel hid, but the general tells her that she is Grisha and she isn't alone. Alina gets taken then to the palace, and Mel wants to go and rescue her, but his friends warn him that he'll be labeled a deserter if he leaves, and the palace is really well guarded. It's pretty much a fortress. In episode 3, Alina is in the little palace. She feels safe, she has her own room and ladies in waiting. She's being treated like royalty. She's to meet the king, and she's kind of assigned a tailor, another Grisha named Genya, who helps her clean up and even heal some of Alina's wounds. Meanwhile, Inej and Kaz are also looking for this alleged Grisha who's rumored to be hidden in the little palace, and they want to get to her. They get a lead on somebody named Nina who grew up in the little palace, who might be able to help them. You see, Nina is described as a radical who thinks that Grisha should choose if they want to serve the crown, so she's their best lead. This brings us to storyline number 3. Nina is checked into her room at an inn, and she's attacked by a group of men and taken. When Kazi, Nej and company arrive, they see that she's gone. They've just missed her, but left behind is a Druskella brooch. These belong to ruthless Grisha hunters known as the Druskella, so they figure that Nina was sold out by the innkeeper. For now, they've lost their way into the little palace, but Kaz decides that 1 million Kruger is a lot of money, so they should press on. General Kerrigan meets Alina at the little palace and gives her a little pep talk before her introduction to the king and queen. She's presented, and they're not impressed at first, but the general uses his powers to make everything go dark, and then he gets Alina to use her sun summoning power, which gets their attention. The general says that she will remain at the little palace so that he can have her trained. But the king, by the way, warns that he doesn't like this talk of the West becoming independent. He wants the country to be whole again, and the West wants to break away, and there is a movement for independence that's growing in the streets. Nina, meanwhile, is on a leaky ship on a rough sea somewhere. Apparently, Grisha, are being transported to take part in trials as the law demands, but this trial seems like kind of a sham and a cover to kill Grisha. The Druskella routinely take the Grisha to stand for these sham trials. Alina gets taken to combat training, and it brings back a fond memory of Mel teaching her to fight. She gets bested in a fight though with one of the other Grisha who might be jealous that General Kerrigan is giving Alina all of this attention suddenly. By the way, throughout her stay, she writes letters to Mel telling him about everything going on in the palace and telling him that she misses him, that she's feeling overwhelmed by the expectations placed on her. It's not clear at this point if she actually can send the letters and if they reach him. In episode 4, Mel says in his letter to Alina that he hasn't heard from her in 3 weeks, so that answers that. Neither of their letters are reaching the other. He volunteers to go and track down the stag, and this is a maybe mythical creature that's supposed to give the Grisha more power. Alina is under the impression that as soon as all this is over, training and destroying the fold, she can get back to her normal life, but Genya reminds her that this is her life now. The general then invites her out for horseback riding, and he tells her to call him Alexander, and they're really getting to know each other. Then Alina, seeing some carvings in stone, tells a piece of history that hundreds of years ago, the king hired a shadow summoner, a black heretic, as his advisor. The heretic grew hungry for power, and the king put a bounty on his head. The heretic tried to use his power to create an army, but he failed, and he created the fold instead. He was subsequently killed by it, and so were many others. Alexander tells Alina that he has done a great deal to undo the work of his forebearer. He tells her that he'll be right by her side as they change the world. Alina is also being trained to use her powers, and she's on quite a grueling training schedule. So the connection between storyline 1 and 3 is that Alexander wants somebody to track down Nina because she was on a mission and she hasn't checked in. Nina is still bound on the ship, and one of her Druskella jailers brings her food that she refuses to eat because she thinks it might be poisoned. He wants information on the man that she works for, General Kerrigan, and she says that she refuses to be a traitor. One day during training, Alina's trainer gives her tea that places her in the memory of that day when she and Mel were about to be tested by the Grisha testers. Mel has an injury on his hand which makes it impossible to test him, and Alina purposely hurts herself so that the Grisha powers won't be detected. Again, it's not that she was sure that she was Grisha, but she didn't want to be separated from Mel. Back on the ship, Nina's captor is given orders to kill her. Mel and his 2 friends are still out in the snowy woods looking for the stag when they're attacked. Mel is terribly wounded, but he's the only one who survives, and just then the stag appears. Alina, meanwhile, asks Genya to heal the scar on her hand. This was the scar, the one that she wanted to keep because it reminded her of that time back in her childhood and the pact to stay with Mel. In episode 5, another male Grisha named David comes into Alina's quarters and gives Alina things to make it easier to channel her power. split this light beam that she has into two, and it seems that Genya has a crush on him. Alina says that she'll be fine though, she can handle her powers for now. Kaz and company are still busy with their plan to break into the little palace. Alina and Alexander have been getting closer all this time, and as she finds her place at the palace and gets more comfortable, she confides in him, and he tells her that she means a lot to him, and they kiss. So there's this kind of fate happening at the palace, and Alina is presented to a group of royal types. She demonstrates her powers, and Kaz and Inej are in the palace at this point as well. They've managed to get in, and they also witness the Sun Summoner. Jesper is hooking up with one of the stable hands. Mel arrives at the palace then, finally, saying that he's found the stag. The general seems to know him, calling him Mel. Of course, Mel asks to see Alina in exchange for the exact location of the stag. Alina's teacher is told that Mel has been taken to the general to tell him about the stag, but Alina's teacher is adamant that the general can't be allowed to obtain that much power. He can't know where the stag is. The general and Alina, who have been getting close all this time, are about to have sex, but they're interrupted and he has to leave. Her teacher comes in then and tells her that she's saving Alina from becoming a slave, saving her from Alexander, who intends to expand the fold and use it as a weapon. That's why he created it in the first place. She tells Alina that Alexander is the heretic. She's his mother. He's had many names and served many kings, just waiting for Alina. He just manipulated her. She gives Alina a pathway through some tunnels to some other Grisha who will help her. The general finally finds his mother outside and she confronts him. Mel overhears the exchange, so he knows that the general is the big bad and that Alina is going into hiding from him. By the way, Alina hides in the back of a carriage that actually belongs to Kaz and company. In episode 6, Alina eventually escapes from Kaz, Jesper and Inej. They knew that she was in there, well, Jesper did, and they did try to keep her, but she kind of negotiated to escape because she is more powerful. They don't ever hold her against her will or pose any real danger or threat to her though. General then gets word that Nina has been captured. Nina and her captor are in the rough sea on a makeshift raft in bad weather far from the ship. They decide then to work together because both of their lives depend on it. They finally find land and a hut where they can keep warm, and they also have to sleep in the same bed for body heat. They're hot for each other, obviously, but they're still at the bickering stage, the kind of flirty bickering stage. One of the Grisha, meanwhile, back at the little palace, suggests that maybe Alina wasn't captured, maybe she ran away. This Grisha is trying to get back into the general's good graces though, as they used to be some kind of lovers. He's not having it though. He's focused on finding Alina. Mel and Alina finally reunite, and she assures him that she never knew that she was Grisha. They both say that they'd been writing letters to each other, and he says that he's been trying to find his way to her all this time. She later shows him her power, and they properly make up as friends who seem to maybe be in love with each other. The general spots Kaz then, who also tells him that Alina ran off. She didn't seem interested in being a captive. As the general goes to attack him, Kaz manages to escape. Alina and Mel are in the woods and she's tending to his wounds. She tells him that they need to head north to find the stag before the general does. The stag, you see, is a power amplifier, may be strong enough to destroy the fold. Nina and her captor, his name is Matthias by the way, are still trekking through the snow, and he finally admits that he's grown to like her. He saves her life too, just as some ice cracks beneath her feet and she almost falls to her death. She loses her coat and he gives her his as they continue on their journey. At the end of the episode, we see the general who goes through the village trying to track Alina down, and he realizes that Alina is somewhere in the forest going after the stag. Episode 7 opens with Alexander back before the fold existed. He's meeting another Grisha who is in hiding because there is a search for Grisha by the king's soldiers, so she's in danger. The soldiers find him and call out for him, referring to him as the Darkling. They say that they know he's there in the cabin with the Grisha. He comes out and the soldiers say that the king wants him back alive, but they try to kill him anyway. The soldiers' arrows don't seem to be taking him down though, because the Grisha has been healing his wounds as they shoot him. She gets captured and they kill her and he's devastated. He uses his power then to kill them all. He then takes the Grisha to see a healer, but it's too late. He tells his mother that he wants to teach the Grisha how to fight back, but his mother tells him that they're not made to fight. They fix things and make things. He's still intent on creating some weapon though, even though his mother forbids it. With his new power, he gets the army to submit to him, and they do involuntarily kneel for a second before things go wrong and the fold is created as a result. Alina and Mel eventually see the stag. Something happens with her power as she touches it, but then some other Grisha attack them, and just then Alexander arrives and he reminds Alina that she doesn't have the power to heal Mel and the stag who have been attacked. She can only summon light. The general then kills the stag and he has Mel healed because Mel is still useful to him. David then performs some kind of magic on Alina and the general, and now Alexander can control and has access to Alina's power. She now also has these disgusting stag horns sticking out of her clavicles. Alina later finds out that Genya was the one who sabotaged her by intercepting her letters to Mel. She was a spy for the general, but she had little choice. She was sold to the queen at 11, and she's just been biding her time to get her revenge. The general tells Mel that he read all of his and Alina's letters, tells him that Alina won't get old, she won't age, but Mel will, and the general just has to be patient. He'll just wait it out. Eventually, they all board the ship, the skiff, and they head into the fold. Alina is pretty much being held captive by Alexander at this point. In episode 8, the final episode of the season, Matthias and Nina are in some trouble. Remember, he's Drusilla and she's Grisha, and they're meant to be enemies, really, because his people hunt her kind, so they don't know where they could go to both be safe. He says that he'll be court-martialed as a deserter if he runs away with her. As they're having waffles together, he collapses at the table, and it turns out the general's man, who had been tracking down Nina, had used some kind of magic to put him to sleep temporarily. Nina is ordered to bring Matthias to the general because he needs to pay for his crimes of being a Drusilla. He tells her that he won't report her treason. Thinking on her feet really quickly, Nina tells the people in the bar that Matthias kidnapped her, and they end up taking both Matthias and Nina with them. At this point, she has very little choice because going with the Grisha means certain death for Matthias, and at least now she can buy some time. He's still very much in danger though. Meanwhile on the skiff, Kaz and co band together with Mel because they have their common enemy in the general. The general uses his power to attack everyone in his path. He announces then that he can consume any city and redraw the map. All the countries belong to the Grisha now, and he seems to finally have his power and control of the realm. A lot of fighting happens, and the stag appears to Alina then. She picks up a knife and she stabs the general and does a thing with her powers. See, the stag chose Alina, so the general can't claim something that was never given to him. Remember, he's stealing Alina's powers against her will, and the stag never appeared to him. So it wasn't for him to use to amplify his own powers. Eventually they make it through the other side of the fold, seemingly having defeated the general for now. Matthias and Nina are on a ship and he's been imprisoned. Obviously Nina did this to actually save him from the general, but he's imprisoned nonetheless, and he no longer trusts her. He thinks that this has been a long con to get him back for kidnapping her first. Mel and Alina are off to lay low for a bit to regroup. Kaz, Jasper, and Edge are looking for their next adventure. They're somehow on the same ship as Nina. Anyway, while everyone thinks that the Darkling is dead, at the end of the episode, he's shown very much alive and angry. And that is season 1 of Shadow and Bone. Thank you for watching.